We're digging up the first ever searcher shaft on Oak Island.
Shaft 2 is almost like the Holy Grail. We find Shaft 2, we know we have 14 feet to the money pit.
Oak Island's biggest shock yet, a metal discovery that could rewrite everything we know.
Clearly looks like it was used to load or unload something for this island.
The hunt is getting intense, and what they've found so far might finally point to the treasure's location. Leaked clues hint that this time they might actually break through, unearthing secrets buried for centuries, ancient paths, strange stones, and even ties to the Knights Templar. It's all coming together in ways no one expected. Tune in, because what happens next might just change everything. Oak Island's new mystery unfolds. They find metals in the water, fascinating. There's also some parchment and leather book bindings. I guess that means treasure, right? Or maybe just some sailor's old diary that got dumped centuries ago. Either way, Marty's staying positive, and honestly, you've got to admire his spirit. Even when it's just old bits of wood, he's convinced they're a step closer to some grand reveal. But this time, they might have found it. The clue that changes everything. Let's not forget the southeast marshland, a muddy patch that's apparently the hottest spot on the island right now. Gary Drayton, Jack Begley, and Billy Garton are slogging through it, following an ancient stone trail. And because everything has to have an epic twist, this trail has a supposed tie to the Knights Templar. Why not? The Templars are like the Swiss Army knife of conspiracy theories. You can stick them into anything and it'll sound just mysterious enough. As they poke around, they stumble across an oddly placed boulder by the stone trail, which of course just has to be significant. And look, there are even some rocks arranged like steps. Someone probably moved those rocks there for a reason, or maybe it's just gravity and erosion playing tricks on everyone. Either way, it's enough to get Rick and the crew excited about another round of digging. But wait, there's more. Terry Matt finds a piece of wood above a rock layer at over 2,000 feet down. Because sure, why not? And Alex finds a metal piece that might be from some dramatic treasure chamber collapse. Of course, no one really knows for sure, but it's enough to keep the narrative alive. Rick's out here analyzing the depths, the types of wood, and basically piecing together a story with whatever scraps they can find. It's a lot like guessing what happened at a party by just looking at the leftover trash. In true Oak Island fashion, they send some wood off for carbon dating, and it comes back as being from the 1600s. Between 1631 and 1684, to be precise. Everyone gets all worked up about it because apparently finding some old wood means they're hot on the treasure's tail. Spoiler number 3, it's still just wood. Eventually, the team is back out in the swamp, still finding bits of brick, pottery, and glass. None of it screams hidden riches, but it all adds to the story, a little color for the legends of Oak Island. Jaime Cuba, the archaeologist, gets involved, and his expertise makes the old stone structure they found seem just a little more significant. It's a meeting point for cultures, a place for history, blah blah. Basically, it's a rock, but a rock that's been around for a long time. They're convinced they're onto something big this time. They've got an old tunnel, a garden pit, a series of oddly placed rocks, you name it. And now they're linking all of this to William Phipps, a sea captain who supposedly stashed his treasure on Oak Island. Was he really trying to preserve history or just spinning a wild story to impress people? Who knows, but it's enough to keep this train moving. They head back to something they call Aladdin's Cave, an underground area 160 feet deep. They get out their fancy high-definition cameras, scanning the place and spotting mud, silt, and some steep slopes. Geologist Terry Matt, with his always careful approach, hints that maybe, just maybe, this could hide treasure. Or maybe it's just another dead end, but digging continues. The excitement is always around the corner, and now the focus shifts to the southeastern marshland once again, where theories about ancient connections abound. Jack Begley is out there with his metal detector, going over every inch like a modern-day prospector, only instead of gold, he's hoping for relics. Jack has this intense belief that any little scrap could be the turning point. A rusty nail, a piece of weathered wood, each discovery has a story, or at least that's how they spin it for the cameras. This area, where the mysterious stone trail was found, continues to puzzle everyone. They bring in more specialists, each with their own theory. One claims that the stones could be remnants of an old dock or landing area, while another insists they are part of a sacred path. These rocks have heard a lot of whispers, and now they're stuck in the limelight, center stage, as people from different walks of life give their takes on what they could mean. And while all these experts throw their ideas around, the Laginas stand by, looking contemplative, probably wondering how much longer they need to keep nodding along before getting back to digging. Jack Begley searches the marshland, hoping the next find will reveal more of Oak Island's secrets. The unsolved puzzle. Gary Drayton calls it a treasure hunter's paradise because supposedly everything sinks there. Tools, treasure, or maybe just someone's bad luck. They haul out more bits of wood, more rocks, and maybe a chunk of metal, and it all goes under the microscope. They ponder if each piece could be part of some elaborate plot by ancient seafarers determined to outwit treasure hunters hundreds of years later. It's amusing, really, thinking of these supposed cunning builders who might have gone through all this effort just to leave random clues buried in a swamp. It's been like this unattainable beacon for years now. The team's dream is to get into this vault, the supposed final resting place of treasure. Every new shaft is supposed to bring them closer, but every single time there's just more dirt, more rock, and maybe an old splintery piece of wood. Still, the crew's belief that they're almost there is unwavering. Rick, with that hopeful glint in his eyes, talks about how the chapel vault could contain untold riches or historical artifacts that could change everything we know. For now, it's just more talks and drills, each inch bringing them closer. Or so they say. They're getting back into the action. There's something about using advanced technology to solve a centuries-old mystery that makes the show both thrilling and ironic. They've got high-definition imaging, ground-penetrating radar, and a whole lot of other fancy tools that beep and flash, all to dig up some wood or a few inches of metal that may or may not be significant. It makes one wonder if they had all this fancy tech centuries ago, what would they have even done with it? As they dive deeper into the island, they start talking about William Phips and the lost treasure of the Concepcion. The Concepcion, a Spanish treasure galleon, supposedly holds a key part of the Oak Island mystery. Phips, with his adventurous spirit, apparently hauled up treasures and decided to stash them somewhere secret. And of course, Oak Island has to be a part of that equation. They paint this picture of old captains, secret packs, and buried chests, but at this point it's hard to tell if it's historical evidence or just a plot for another pirate-themed drama. They keep finding these weird rock formations, lines of stones, and clusters that look too neat to be natural. It's almost as if the rocks are taunting them, placed just right to seem like they mean something, but vague enough to be infuriatingly inconclusive. They bring out more experts who suggest everything from old markers for treasure to natural formations, and the guessing game continues. Are these just accidents of geology, or some cryptic messages left behind by cunning treasure hiders? Well, that's for the next episode to ponder. Craig Tester, the ever-patient analyzer, brings a kind of grounded reality to the show. He talks to the lab techs, looks at the carbon dating results, and seems to be the only one not getting swept up in the constant roller coaster of, we found it, and maybe not. When they find another piece of wood and it turns out to be from the mid-1600s, he's calm. He knows what this means, nothing definitive but enough to keep the story alive. When the team heads to the stone-paved area near Nolan's Cross, they seem even more convinced that they're onto something major. They bring out the detectors, they find metal, and the speculation runs wild. Perhaps this was an unloading zone, a place where treasures were offloaded and hidden. The theories get more elaborate. Maybe there were secret societies involved, maybe the Templars, maybe pirates. It's all on the table. Geologist Terry Matt, ever the cautious one, says there might be something down there. Maybe treasure, maybe something else. The uncertainty is palpable. They don't know what's down there, but the thrill of the unknown is enough to keep them going. They send in the sonar scanners, mapping every nook and cranny, hoping for a hint of something that's not just rock or mud. It's painstaking and it's slow, but it's Oak Island, where slow is just another word for progress. Oak Island keeps delivering just enough to keep everyone hooked. A piece of metal here, a strange rock formation there, a bit of parchment, or a few drops of mercury in the water, it all adds up to something that feels like it could be significant, but never quite is. The real magic of Oak Island might not be in what they find, but in the fact that they keep looking. The cameras keep rolling, The drills keep digging, and the Laginas keep hoping that the next layer of Earth will finally reveal the truth. But there's always another episode, another lead, another glimmer of hope. And maybe, just maybe, the journey is the treasure itself. The promise of hidden riches, the thrill of the search, the camaraderie of the dig, that's what Oak Island is all about. That tiny, sleepy patch of land off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada. You know, the place that should be known for its natural charm, the forests, the wetlands, the quaint little coastal spots. But no, what do people care about? Some mysterious treasure that might be there somewhere, probably, or not. Now, the island has folks from all over scrambling to dig it up, fueled by every half-baked theory that's popped up since the 1700s. Then there's the wildlife, birds, mammals, fish. Oak Island has its share of critters, or, well, it had its share. Heavy machinery and humans stomping all over the place? Not exactly what the doctor ordered for a healthy animal habitat. The noise alone is enough to make even the most patient squirrel pack up and leave. Let's not even get started on the nocturnal creatures. Ever try to sleep with blinding lights shining everywhere? And birds? Forget about it. They're not nesting anywhere near that racket. It's like if you took your favorite hiking trail and set up a construction site in the middle of it. Good luck spotting anything besides stressed-out humans. The team's focus shifts to the environment where every dig leaves its mark. The destruction of Oak Island. People have lived there, built things there, left traces of their past. Maybe even more interesting than some long-lost pirate gold. But here's the deal. In their quest to find something shiny, they're pretty much bulldozing over everything else that might be worth preserving. Removing chunks of soil and messing with rock formations doesn't exactly do wonders for preserving historical artifacts. We're losing pieces of history in the name of maybe finding treasure. How's that for irony? The Lagina team isn't just flying by the seat of their pants here. They know they've got a bit of a PR problem with all this nature destruction stuff. They've thrown in a few environmental impact assessments to show they care. They've even tried replanting some vegetation, after ripping it all up first, of course. And they've had some conservation experts come by like, hey, we're trying our best here. But honestly, when you're bringing in massive drills and building underground structures, trying your best doesn't exactly stop the damage from happening. It's like trying to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Someone needs to be holding the clipboard, setting rules. Don't use that machine here. Leave this area alone, that kind of thing. Because left unchecked, the search for treasure ends up being an all-you-can-destroy buffet. The idea is to leave enough of the island intact that there's still something there for historians or scientists to study. Otherwise, it's just a glorified sandpit with a history that's been pulverized along with the treasure dreams. The people around Nova Scotia have a stake in what happens to Oak Island. It's not just about some old treasure, it's about the land, the culture, the story of the place. Bringing the local community into the conversation could do wonders for balancing this whole find the gold at all costs narrative. If more people understood the environmental and cultural damage being done, maybe, just maybe, they'd hold the Lagina team accountable for what they're doing to the place. Imagine the Lagina brothers having to explain to a group of locals why their favorite wetland is now a muddy crater. It's easy to get lost in the hype of what will they find next. And is this the year they finally discover the treasure? But let's be real here. The costs are pretty high for a maybe. Every time they move another pile of dirt, we lose a little bit more of Oak Island's natural and cultural identity. Sure, they're putting on a good face about being careful, but you can only be so careful when you're digging giant holes and running machinery across a fragile ecosystem. The legacy of Oak Island might end up being less about treasure and more about how not to handle historical sites and delicate environments. Here's the kicker. Even if they do find the treasure, some chest full of gold coins or a few shiny trinkets, will it even matter? Once the allure of what could be there is gone, what's left? An island with its forests torn up, its wetlands drained, and its cultural history trampled. All for a bit of shiny metal that might look good in a museum but cost far more in destruction than it's probably worth. The real value of Oak Island isn't in some hypothetical pirate loot, it's in the place itself, the stories it tells, and the natural beauty it has. Or at least had. But maybe it's time to think about what exactly we're cheering for here. Because if this keeps up, Oak Island's future looks pretty bleak. Not a mysterious treasure island, just another spot where nature and history were sacrificed on the altar of reality TV and treasure hunting fantasies. The relentless pursuit of buried treasure has turned Oak Island into a testing ground for just how much an ecosystem can endure. The operations have gotten bigger, the equipment more sophisticated, and the team more determined. The sheer audacity of the project, to essentially rip open a small island to see what's hidden inside, is both fascinating and horrifying. The cracks in the environmental and cultural fabric of Oak Island are growing deeper and wider, and it's hard to ignore the long-term consequences of the constant search. Digging massive holes and disturbing the land has led to the erosion of topsoil, making it hard for new vegetation to take root. The exposed soil is vulnerable to wind and water erosion, and the very fabric of the land is being washed away bit by bit. Without the stabilizing roots of trees and plants, the island's once rich soil is slowly turning barren, unable to support the vegetation that made it such a special place. This isn't just about losing a few trees, it's about fundamentally altering the ability of Oak Island to sustain itself as a thriving natural habitat. The treasure hunt's environmental toll extends beyond just the visible damage. Consider the pollutants that enter the ecosystem from machinery, oil leaks, exhaust fumes, and other chemicals that inevitably spill into the soil and water. These contaminants aren't just unsightly, they're dangerous. They disrupt the delicate chemical balance of the island's water bodies, affecting fish and other aquatic life. Once pure ponds and streams are now at risk of becoming toxic pools, inhospitable to the creatures that once thrived there. The interconnectedness of Oak Island's ecosystem means that damage in one area cascades through the entire environment with effects that may take years, if not decades, to fully understand or reverse. Oak Island's history stretches back centuries, with human activity leaving traces that tell the story of the island's past. Ancient artifacts, old structures, and remnants of past settlements all add depth to Oak Island's historical narrative. But the focus on treasure, gold, jewels, or whatever people believe is buried there, has overshadowed these smaller, more meaningful discoveries. In the search for a grand prize, the subtle, less glamorous pieces of history are being overlooked or outright destroyed. Wooden beams, stone carvings, or the remains of old tools might not be treasures, but they are priceless artifacts that give context to the island's story. Is the Oak Island treasure worth the environmental and cultural cost? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're intrigued by the mystery.